another take on NVIDIA's results. Angelo Zeno of CFRA Research joins us now. Angelo, I want to get your initial thoughts. As we do see the stock trade higher, we did see them beat on the top and bottom lines and come in much stronger on some of those key metrics like data center. Obviously, we just talked about the gross margin and other metrics for the guide as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. So as far as the results are concerned, I mean, I think that it's probably as good as you wanted it to be. I mean, you didn't want the numbers to be too hot, but you wanted them to be better than expected. And that's exactly what you kind of got this quarter. So we're perfectly happy with that. I mean, they did announce a number of other things like an increase in the dividend as well as the stock split and what have you. But as far as kind of the fundamentals are concerned, and the results for the April quarter and July quarter guide, data center numbers continue to drive this business, and that continues to look promising. So all in all, I'd say we're pretty happy with the number. I'd say as far as gross margins are concerned, yes, they outperformed during the quarter, but when you kind of look at the guide, relatively in line to expectations. And when we kind of look at the back half of the calendar year here, we do expect it to kind of be more modest in nature, so call it mid-70s range. So as far as, again, that guide was concerned, relatively in line with expectations.
Angelo, as the AI story kind of matures, we've been talking for several quarters now about how some people are saying, well, more of this compute is moving to the edge. It's moving away from the data center. We're seeing Qualcomm talking about that. We were just seeing Microsoft talk about that with Qualcomm and about others with the Copilot Plus announcement. There's also rumblings that NVIDIA is going to participate even more at the edge, perhaps on the CPU side with chips later. How do you see NVIDIA positioned as the AI story broadens out to laptops and such devices?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So when we think about NVIDIA, I think what's great about the story is they've got so many levers to this story long term. And we kind of look at over the next kind of 3 to 5 years and even over the next decade. To your point, kind of on-device edge computing is going to be a huge part of the story, not only for the Qualcomms of the world, which are clearly seeing kind of a nice inflection now, but also the NVIDIAs of the world. I mean, I think you kind of look at their auto business, still small in nature. We think that's going to be a multi-billion-dollar business here over the next couple of years. And, you also alluded to laptops. I think when you start thinking about kind of the entire industrial revolution that kind of NVIDIA alluded to, I mean, these GPUs are going to be in all these type of devices out there. So that's a critical part of this, story for NVIDIA, longer term in nature. I'd say as you kind of, think about also the data center business here, yes, it's maturing in terms of kind of, the run rate in terms of the revenue, year-over-year revenue rates have to kind of start to decelerate. But that said, I mean, we do think there's this kind of AI war in the clouds going on, and we do continue to see upside potential to where some of the capital intensity rates are for a number of these kind of mega cap tech companies, specifically on the cloud and the digital ad side of things. And don't forget the whole sovereign AI story, which it'll be interesting to kind of see, how if Jensen Huang kind of talks about that, on this call, because that provides further kind of validation to the long-term story of this company.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going with you, Angelo, because I remember last quarter, we'll call it a couple of quarters ago, you've had the Commerce Department. I just spoke to, Secretary Raimondo earlier today on CNBC. I asked her about export controls, which we know have affected NVIDIA and other semi names as well, whether she felt like they have gone far enough. She said they're continuously assessing that. It had been a large piece of revenue, China had been for NVIDIA. They've been de-risking that. The fact that it's not front and center as a metric in this earnings report tells us what?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit it when you said it. They've kind of been de-risking, that part of the business here. I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of see what they have to say about China. Listen, China's the second biggest market out there. So you do want that to be an open market here for NVIDIA longer term. I think it improves kind of the long-term trajectory for this company if they can participate even more than they currently are within the China market. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you kind of said, hey, listen, they've de-risked from this story. It's not it's not 20 to 25% of their data center business. It's closer to a single-digit pace. But that said, now we see it as more of a potential opportunity if they are allowed to continue to open up that market there. But maybe to your point, at this point in time, it's one of those things where it's not kind of a central kind of thesis to our story. But the hope is potentially it could kind of come back a little bit.